It's the Lean Into Artcast, a show where some visual storytellers get together, take a walk around a topic, and try to think about it really hard, then try to put it in some kind of useful, actionable item. We think hard about visual storytelling, so you will too. My name is Jersey Droz, cartoonist and teaching artist. Rob is not here this time. Rob is actually on vacation. The man actually gets a vacation, but I am not on my own because I flew the bat signal, and two of my good buddies showed up. First, let's introduce Chris Giruso. Is this your first time on the show, Chris?
Yes, it is.
Chris Giruso.
Yes.
Let's pull up your websites. How about chrisgcomics.com, where you can find the G-Man Super Journal, G-Man Web Comics, and what else is on there? Oh, cool video of you. the commercial that we've talked about in the past on other shows.
Oh, that's right. My Levi's jeans commercial.
Levi's jeans commercial. G-Man is the story of a young man who finds a magic material that when he turns it into a cape, he can fly and has other superpowers. And his competitive older brother takes a piece of that cloth and makes a belt out of it. And he's great, man.
Yes.
Some of the most vibrant, fun superhero stuff I've ever read in my life. Absolutely huge fan.
Or that I've ever written.
I mean, I have all the copies. But also, you are the artist behind minimarvelart.com, where, what's the deal with that? Like, there's a new sketch every day?
Yeah, I've been doing, well, you see a lot of artists do this. I've been putting up a new sketch every day for sale. I called it Mini Marvel Art because most people that know me remember me from the Mini Marvels that I used to work on at Marvel Comics. And check it out, minimarvelart.com.
Yeah, there's some great pieces on here. I've got them up on the screen. Oh, and there's Transformers ones too. That Prowl. Did the Prowl one get sold? Prowl got sold. Of course Prowl got sold.
There's still a full-color Wheeljack up there that nobody grabbed.
That Spider-Man versus Megatron from Transformers #3 cover is so good.
Thank you.
So yes, people should go to minimarvelart.com and check out the daily sketches. Also, you post them on Facebook and Twitter. But man, like the Spider-Man ones you've been doing are just like so strong. So like the compositions are great, and plus the energy is great. Anyway, just I love your stuff. I don't know how you do it, but it's like cute but powerful. And anybody who's been a fan of followed me for a while knows that I'm a big fan of cute and brave things. The other guy who's sitting in with us today is Greg Schiegel. Hey, Greg.
It's hard to sit here quietly when the word Wheeljack is spoken.
Why is that, Greg?
Just want to say Wheeljack. Such a sayable word.
Name.
Usually a guy goes by the name of Wheeljack.
And Greg Schiegel is the host of the Stuff Said podcast, which that is a reference to, the latest episode. What's Stuff Said, Greg?
What is Stuff Said? Stuff Said was a show where I talked to people in the world of comics, cartooning, and beyond. And now it is a show about a cartoonist saying stuff. Comes out a little less frequently. It's a little more random in its content. But it's still me talking about comics or talking around comics or something.
Let me see if I can pull up the Stuff Said website.
Sure.
Here we go.
They say I took a hiatus at the end, in the middle of 2015, and I just recently brought the show back in a new format. It's just a more random thing. I'll get to it when I get to it, because I got other stuff to do.
You do have other stuff to do because you also work on the SpongeBob comics.
True.
The regular going gig.
Yeah. I have a cover due next Thursday.
Edited by Chris Duffy, contributed by you and guys like Jacob Shabbat and a whole bunch of other super talented cartoonists. Love the Ballad of Barnacle Bill two-parter, which was Jacob and who wrote that one?
Derek Dryman.
Oh, so good.
Who was on Stuff Said.
Oh, see, all comes around. But that's not all you do, because then you spend a lot of time doing this thing. Picks pixcomic.com.
This,
You haven't been on the
talking
show
about this
before.
book right here?
Well, here, let's see the book. Let's see the book you're holding. One Weirdest Weekend, which you can find at pixcomic.com.
It's true.
What
Both
is-
Chris and Jersey are quoted on the back.
Well, that's right. I forgot about that.
What's my quote?
Yeah. What's your quote? You really want me to read your quote?
Well, I don't care.
I think people should go buy the book, and then they can read the quote for themselves. How's that for a selling point?
We don't want to spoil the best part of the book.
Yeah,
My words on the back cover.
That's right.
hot stuff.
What did Chris and Jersey have to say about this book? You have to buy it to find out.
That's right.
That's a whole new use of pull quotes. I've never heard of it been done that way before. But also, you may notice that these two guys seem to know each other really well because they also both did a thing called cruising together. Cruising together.
Hold on. We still cruise together. We just have the new exit hasn't opened yet for us to go down that road.
So what is this thing?
Hey, Chris, you want to try and explain cruising together?
Cruising together is Greg and I systematically going through every Tom Cruise movie and discussing it in depth, movie by movie, episode by episode. And
That's about it.
although we have caught up to the latest Tom Cruise movie release, he has not stopped making movies, so the podcast will continue at a pace of about one episode per year.
Or when movies are released, yeah. When he acts in a movie, we'll be there.
Which I'm suggesting is probably going to be once a year.
I think he's got two coming out in 20... Wait, no, there's one in October, and then I think another one in February of 2017. That's more than two in a calendar year, or that is two in a calendar year. Anyway, where Tom Cruise goes,
You said one in
we
October.
follow. And one in February. That's within a calendar year.
Do you know what a calendar is?
Yeah. If you start in October to the next October, that's the calendar.
No, calendar year is like entirely
Calendar year
like
is 12 months.
Anyway, if people, you're getting a taste of what the Cruising Together show is actually like.
Yeah,
I
this
don't
is
know.
the
I
kind
don't
of
know if this is
in-depth
the
we
best
do.
taste. Sometimes it's funnier than that. Sometimes it's funny.
A lot of times it's funny. A lot of times it's two guys giving each other a very hard time. HatterEntertainment.com/cruisin' is where you can find that. All this will be linked in the show notes. Anyway, thank you guys for making time to hang out with me tonight. Wow,
No problem.
Lots of other stuff to do. So we're going to talk about riffing, like something that happens every time I wind up hanging out with you guys. I get very excited about this. Is I know that the two of you are going to start looking for things to riff on and form bits out of, and I see you guys because I'm such an easy audience. I see you guys kind of light up when I come around. Like, oh, okay, Jersey's always good for a laugh or two.
You're a great audience.
Yeah, I want to have fun. But you guys are really funny, and it's fun to watch you two
Thank you.
sort of work and see you guys feed off of each other and watch how you detect what is story worthy and joke worthy. And so I thought like this is a perfect like tie-in to this whole idea. Like I'm working with teens and kids right now in a couple different comics classes, and you know, I'm facing the age-old question. I don't have any ideas. I don't know where to start. Where do I begin? I got an idea for a character, but I don't know where to take it from there. And so then I start trying to find their way into detecting what is story-worthy and what's not. So I thought it would be fun to have you guys here to riff on some bits together. The second half of the show, we're going to like actually demo this whole idea of like how to riff on an idea and turn it into some kind of premise or serviceable thing. But before we do that, I thought we would talk a little bit about this whole idea of like finding bits and how you guys think about detecting them, if you have any kind of system at all. But before we go there, I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do because this show has sponsors, and the sponsors happen to be me and Rob because we're the ones who put the show on.
Absolutely.
So first thing I want to talk about is BoulderandFleet.com.
Stamps.com.
Hey, Chris, let the man do the housekeeping.
You're
If you
saying
were
this is not the
vacuuming,
time. This is not the time to start riffing.
if you were vacuuming, would you want somebody to stand in the way of your vacuum cleaner? No.
I would if
Trying to
they
water
had
the
two
lawn?
vacuum cleaners.
If you're trying to water the lawn, you don't want somebody pinching the hose. Jersey,
Trying to mow the
continue.
lawn? You're right. I don't want anyone pinching the hose while I mow the lawn.
Jersey,
BoldenFleet.com
proceed.
is a comic that I worked on, and actually I just finished the first big story, Mining for Trouble. And it's a story about a bear and a bird who go from town to town, try to help people, sort of like Bill Bixby's The Incredible Hulk series, but told with Sylvanian family or Calico Critters characters. So it's super cute, but also a lot of high-energy action. And now you can read the whole 88-page story in its entirety at BoldenFleet.com. It's also on Instagram and on Twitter. Rob makes a game called This Panda Needs You. That's at this-panda.com. It is an iOS game where it is a physics stacking game. Panda comes along, there's a bunch of shapes stacked up, and this mischievous cloud shows up, knocks all the blocks down, and then you have to help the panda put the stacks back together the way they were.
Is that like Tetris, but with somebody playing defense?
Yeah, actually, that's a great way, but that's like a great log line for it. Yeah.
All right.
It's
You're welcome.
Tetris where somebody is interfering with the thing. And you can get that for iPad or iPhone at this-panda.com. But if you are here just to say, hey, I just like the way Jersey and Rob think about things, I love the way you guys unbox and troubleshoot storytelling problems, I'm not really interested in the other stuff that you make, well, then you can go to leadintoart.com/workshops where we have videos you can download at a price of your choosing, even $0. You can type 0 for the price. There's all sorts of comics and game design workshops in there for you to check out today. So, and thanks to everybody who has checked all of our products out. All right, you guys want to talk about storytelling?
Yeah, let's do it. Make them ups.
I'm gonna play the intro music to this section then.
Nice.
10,000 feet up. Time to talk about the topic in abstract. Look at it from every conceivable angle. Look for the hidden dimensions and depths. And yes, special music for Greg for his appearance on the show.
I feel it. Thank you.
The end of Moonlighting.
That's not the end of Moonlighting. It's the end of Family Ties. trying to just get me mad? What's happening here?
Jersey's trolling you.
I once said that by accident, and you jumped all up in my face about it.
Like I just did? Like I just did right now?
Yes. Yeah, and I was a little taken aback. What's the deal with Family Ties anyway?
It's one of the best TV shows ever.
Oh.
Or do you want to know what it's about? I'm fond of it. I have great memories of it. And for the first 60 episodes of Stuff Said, that little sha-la-la-la was how I ended every episode.
Okay, well, maybe they'll come into some of the stuff we talk about in the 10,000 feet up section. So, I'm curious. I'm curious how you guys, when you're doing your riffing together on Cruising Together, and when you're hanging out doing Stuff Said episodes, like when the four of you with Smitty and Jacob Shabbat.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to you guys have a conversation. I listen to you guys build on your ideas together, and you guys yes and a lot with that. Do you feel like you're using the same skill set there as you do when you're working out a story, or is it different for you guys? Like when you're like trying to work out like an idea into a story, like is it like a conversation you're having with yourself, or is something else happening?
Ideally, it is. Except I find for myself, I definitely have more parameters in mind when I'm working on a story, which is to say I have an ending I'm trying to get to. Whereas when it's just like straight goof arounds, you're just going where it goes. You don't have a set ending in mind. But when I know where I want to go, there's a bit more of a target there. And you're exploring ideas, you're riffing in your own head or with somebody, but it's in search of a conclusion, as opposed to, let's see where this takes us kind of a thing. I think it's maybe a tiny switch on the dial, but it's enough of a switch so that, for instance, when I'm working on Pix 2, which is in progress, and I was working out the story parts, I knew the scene I was at, I knew the scene I wanted to get to, and it was, how do I combine these things? How do I get to where I want to go? How do I make this compelling or interesting or make sense? And the riffing is contained within that parameter, as opposed to, I need to come up with ideas for things Pix can do. Let's be idiots for an hour.
I think it's, like you said, it is similar processes at work for each. Like Greg said, it's a small click on that dial. But a lot of the stuff I've done with G-Man has been the result of not having a lot of time to plan everything out, and so it had to be very improvisational as I went through. There was one story I was doing. I literally didn't know what was going to happen on the next page while I was working on a current page, and I would just hope that I'd come up with the ideas overnight to keep the story going so that I wouldn't lose any time. So sometimes it's ideally you want to have it all planned out, but you're kind of forced to improvise a lot too.
Is that for the webcomic, Chris?
No, Cape Crisis was like that.
You're kidding me.
No, Cape Crisis, the first chapter, I knew how it was going to go. Then the second chapter, I kind of ran into trouble. And then 3, 4, and 5, I was going like day by day, not really sure if it was ever going to like match up. And that's why, see, Jersey, the first time I met you, you commented how there was like the pages were pretty dialogue heavy. There was a lot of word balloons on each page, and I think that's a result of like me not knowing what was coming next and just trying to work in everything I had thought of the day before.
Well, that's funny. I think my phrasing was it had a good image to text ratio.
You made it sound good, but I still feel like maybe I could have used the ratio could have been rearranged a little bit.
Wow, that is surprising. I mean, I have Cape Crisis right here, and again, it's one of my favorite superhero comics, and it does not read like it was done on the fly.
So yeah, there was a few times where I would just like I'd throw out just these goofy one-liners that they weren't even jokes. They just didn't even really mean anything. But then later I was able to follow up on them, and it looked. So I was like pleased with the way it seemed like it had been planned out, but it wasn't.
Okay. That's
what improv really is.
I want to jump on that because yes, this is something that I only became aware of when I started doing these like teaching and podcasting stuff. Is that when I'm holding a discussion, I'm sort of like exercising two different muscles where and this is like I think just the art of good discussion too. I think is you listen carefully to what the person's going to say, and you're not waiting for your chance to talk. You're listening and you're formulating your response while you're processing what they're saying, right? I feel like when I'm writing, I'm doing that too. I'm throwing the ideas down, and then I'm like sort of thinking of what I might say in response to the ideas that I'm throwing down, and then sometimes that leads to, if you're paying attention to what you're doing, you can find ways to knit it into itself later on, even if you're just fudging it along the way. Does that sound right? Does that comparison sound apt?
Yeah, that sounds familiar with a lot of the way that I've worked, and then over the years, having like listened to a lot of comedians and comedy podcasts, you start to hear them talking about the way improv works, and it sounds like a lot of the same principles at play. So we were kind of like we were improving without knowing we were improving in a way, but now knowing that that's what it is, it's very interesting to see what those to explore like what else they've already figured out, so that we don't have to like stumble upon it.
And to what you were saying, Jersey, I think a lot of that is listening to, if you're, I've heard people talk about it. I've never done improv myself, but the idea is you have to listen to your partner and react to what they're saying. So if you yourself are running ideas to your head, you're kind of like listening to yourself and bouncing stuff back and forth. So it is all probably in a very similar school of operation.
There's a new movie out right now specifically about this. It's called Don't Think Twice.
I'm seeing it on Sunday.
Right, but like that's the idea is like you don't think twice. It's just you have an honest reaction, and which comes if you are just listening and you're in the moment.
Right.
Define honest reaction.
Oh yeah, like define it, Chris.
My understanding of it is that you're not necessarily going for the gag. You're not like searching and going through different like 10 different permutations of like, well, how can I make that funny? How can my answer to this be? How can I spin that into a funny thing? You just react to it, the first thing that you think of, which might not be a joke, but it's the commitment to the bit or the commitment to having an honest reaction that winds up being funny without going for a cheap gag.
Yeah, the way I've heard it,
I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
The way I've heard it explained is you play to this scene, not to the joke or the audience, and you find in improv at least you're supposed to find the humor in the grounding of the scene. Again, I feel like I should preface or postface. What is a preface that comes after you said something?
Postfix?
Like what is that called?
Postface.
No, there's got to be a real word for it though, right?
Yeah, postface.
All right, so to postface it, addendum is that again I've never done improv, so
we're armchairing it right now.
Yeah, I'm doing this based on conversations I've had with my cousin who's taken improv classes and hearing interviews and things like that. But the idea is you find what's called, depending on the certain school of learning improv, there's something called the game of the scene, which is like the joke, like the nut of what the joke is, but then everything else is grounded in a reality. So if the scene is a grocery checkout line, the game of the scene might be that the scanner won't scan, and that gets escalated each time you go around in that joke format. But you can't, the idea is not to have somebody say like, hey, that scanner, will it scan this penguin? Because that doesn't, it's based in, it's like a not that non sequitur can't be funny, but it's not, for the purposes of that, you need to play to the scene and agree with your partner and go that route.
I'm going to reference penguins as frequently as possible for the rest of this podcast.
We should also reference boulders and or fleets as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. So you wouldn't. I mean, I guess you could if you're doing that scene. Like somebody could pull a boulder out of their shopping cart, and then the other person would be like, "Hey, where's the UPC code on this thing? I can't scan it."
And you say, "Oh, why don't you ask your penguin?"
Right. And then that's where you'd be going off the rails. Maybe. But then I guess you'd have to agree and say, like, yeah, what's the deal with your penguin? Can it talk? That sort of thing. Maybe.
I have a whole fleet of penguins.
Perfect.
Ding, ding, ding.
But to where you're now, are we bridging the gap between that and making up our own stories and just sort of working within our head? Because it clearly is a different dynamic if you're just in your own head.
Well, no, and this is something that I personally struggle with a lot, and I would love to get your guys' takes on this, is that, like, it's hard for me to know sometimes when, like, the line between an honest reaction and being self-indulgent, right? Like,
How do you mean?
What's the line between reacting because I had a similar experience as a young man, and I'm reacting out of that center, versus, oh, hey, everybody, listen to how horrible my life was when I was a kid, or look at this bad thing that happened to me, or look at how brilliant I was when I was 10, Like, what's the difference between, like, pulling in reactions based on your honest response, which is, unfiltered, unprocessed, not posturing, right? Versus indulging in, well, listen, everybody, here's how I feel about it, and this is why you should feel that way too. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think that just might be a personality type. Like some people are wired to hear a story and say, well, if you think that's something, listen to this. Me. And then there are other people that will hear something like, oh my God, the same thing happened to me. Listen to this.
Okay.
And one person is like...
That's literally every conversation that has ever been had in a bar.
Which one, the first one or the second one?
No, Man in Bar has stories similar to yours, but better.
Right, but it's all in the approach of how you tell that story. So somebody will say, oh, that reminds me of this, and then somebody else can say, you think that's something, you won't believe what happened to me.
Right.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question.
No, you're hitting it. You're right in that territory, because, like, when I am writing stories, and especially when I have to get into, like, I just finished writing, and I'm penciling and inking a story for teenagers, and it's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, right? And so I spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, where was I when I was 14? Where was my head at? And I started to feel at times like the danger of, I don't want to say to kids, oh, you think you guys know what life's about. Let me tell you, with all my perspective now, this is why my teenhood was worse than your teenhood, or my teenhood was better than your teenhood, right?
Sure.
Versus me empathizing with him, saying like, yeah, I totally know what that's like, and I was there once, and here's what I have to say about it now, right?
Is there? Go ahead, Chris.
Are you saying this like as you're writing a story, or as you're talking to the kids and helping them with their stories?
I'm saying this, that's the dialogue I'm having as I'm writing the story, is I really worry about that authenticity a lot, and I never...
I feel like there's a third version of what you're describing, which is, I'm going to tell my story. You decide if it's authentic or not, because I don't know. There's that, I was just looking on Twitter today, Ted Naife, or Naife, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, was having a conversation with somebody about what defines art, whether it is the intent of the artist or the receivership of the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have often been of the mind that art is defined in some degree by the intent, like, what is the intent of this person by smearing paint on the wall that makes it art, versus somebody seeing like, that's a work of art. He was taking the position of, it's up to the viewer, that anybody creating something is clearly trying to communicate an idea. Whether the person taking that piece in responds in the correct way or the way it's intended is out of the artist's control, out of the creator's control. So you can think, am I being sincere? Am I being pompously self-referential or whatever? But the fact of the matter is, you're going to write this story, and one kid is going to be like, who does this guy think he is? And another kid's going to be like, oh my God, I get it.
Yeah.
So it's up to the reader. It's up to the reader to empathize, not the author.
Right. So if you just tell your own story the way you best remember it, you've done your job.
And then, so in other words, don't think twice.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you could, for instance, let's all right, The Wonder Years, right?
Okay.
Like, The Wonder Years is a story about adolescence told from the point of view of an adult. Right?
Right.
But it is still an authentic...
Who grew up in the 60s or the 50s, and yet as a viewer, it doesn't matter that we didn't grow up at that same time, because we still were watching what he's going through.
But even beyond that, the way the story is told, it's not like he's showing this information as like, now that I'm so much older, blah, 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 or when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, this is the thing that happened. And I remember it like this, and now you're watching the memories.
Right.
And then it's somebody could have watched it and be like, man, the narrator, he's really looking back on his time with rose-colored. It's like, maybe, but that's somebody bringing their own baggage to that show.
Gotcha.
Talk about being self-indulgent. Everything that I do is like the epitome of self-indulgence. Like, I can't imagine getting more self-indulgent with the G-Man books.
You better explain that. I know why you're saying this, but for the people who don't know, I mean, like, why is it even called G-Man?
It's me living my own hero fan. G-Man is me as a superhero. I put all my friends into it, turn them into superheroes. My family is in it. All the stuff that happens between G-Man and his brother is directly based on or inspired by stuff that happened between me and my brother. And it's completely self-indulgent in all of those respects. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of like me just... it's therapy. It's therapy sessions for me.
And I would argue that it is not 100% self-indulgent because you're filtering it through all these fantastic ideas, as opposed to just writing stories of, just straight autobio stories. Which
I make up stuff to make it sound even cooler.
Right.
I don't want to reveal how boring I was. I think that's even more self-indulgent.
Chris cracked the code. Just add more stuff to make it even cooler.
Which I think a lot of autobio authors actually do.
Spoilers. I can't actually fly.
Oh.
In real life. I made that part up. That's one of the parts I made up.
But I believe that there are autobio authors who do embellish and play with their own story. And I would say that is more self-indulgent because it is couched in this is my authentic true story.
Mm.
And some people get caught, like that guy who wrote that memoir that turned out to be completely fake. Can't remember his name.
Oh, it was A Million Little Pieces or A Million
Tiny
Pieces?
Yeah. Jonathan Franzen? No, that's the
Yeah.
corrections. It's Jonathan Franzen.
Wasn't
Either
his
way,
real crime lying to Oprah?
Yeah.
like that is purely self-indulgent because that is saying this is my story, and then making everything up, but still committing to the fact that it's your own story. I think what
Right.
you're doing, Chris, is you're saying I'm using my baseline life as the starting point, and then using my imagination to make this awesome.
Well, yeah, and you're taking ideas inspired from real life. Nobody reads them thinking like, oh, this is a thing that he's saying really happened to him.
Right.
Right. When your youngest brother was born, you didn't have to fight a stork.
No,
And
and frankly, I would not have. I would have just run away.
yeah. So yeah,
Which let me underline this again for the audience. That scene is freaking brilliant when they have to actually answer riddles for the stork.
it really is.
Otherwise, the stork's gonna eat the baby. And the best line. I mean,
Yeah, I think more self-indulgent, Chris, is us doing cruising together, which is
Because I'm
us
Tom
expecting
Cruise.
which is expecting people to just listen to us ramble for an hour because we think we're funny.
well, some of us do, and that's up to
Well,
the audience to decide.
Exactly.
Getting a
Can we
taste
talk
of
up
it
to
right
the
now.
audience.
Can we talk about the cruise together just for a second? Because something
Sure.
else I thought about was how part of the fun of cruising together, and also the Stuff Set episodes where it's
I'm
the
sorry
four-
to interrupt, but Jersey, you were about to say something really great about my story, and I would like to hear that. About the stork. And then we can get back to cruising together.
Okay, so this is the tease why people need to read this book, because there's a scene where the stork is saying, if you don't answer my riddles, I'm gonna eat your brother. And like the stork turns like really scary for a second. It's like, I'm gonna eat him, and like his face changes, and it's like, oh, he is gonna eat him. And there's a scene where the kids use a kind of kid logic against the stork, and it gets really super menacing, and it looks like it's gonna go down badly, and the stork says, all right, I'll allow it. And then they're like, yeah! It's like this the big, end of Kickboxer movie moment where like the credits roll and the big horns play, but the climax is the stork saying, all right, I'll allow it. He just gives up. And I actually laughed out loud reading the book, especially that scene. It's so good. And
Thank you.
End of Kickboxer. That's what I heard.
That'd be my pull quote. Better
I
than
should
end of
know the
Kickboxer.
end of Kickboxer, and I don't know the end of Kickboxer. What it was? It's Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
Right. It's just,
What's- what-
those action movies always have like the big horn swell and like there's like a critical punch and then everybody cheers, right? But it's like there's like a lot of build up to like this big critical moment. Like then the Karate Kid with like the crane technique thing.
Sure.
I'm saying that was that moment in the book, but instead of it being like, oh, Johnny gets kicked in the face, he gets knocked out, it's like the story's like, yeah, whatever. That's what
By
was
the
so good
way,
about
This may well help segue into the next thing, but Jersey, we talked the other day about Gary Gallman. Did you hear his bit about the Karate Kid?
I did, but I don't remember it offhand.
All
Remind
right,
me.
we won't get into it.
Okay.
I won't derail too much. It's great. People should look up Gary Gallman, Karate Kid. It's worth listening to. It's delightful. That guy's very funny.
So we're going to get back to cruising together.
The cruise
where
together. So
we were before I
something
interrupted.
that I've noticed on both that show and on the Stuff Set episodes where the four of you guys get together is that there are many times where Chris is intentionally trying to derail the conversation, and you hear Greg like holding on, and it's so much fun to listen to Greg try to like manage this pack of hyenas. So I wonder if the sabotaging of the conversation has a sort of parameter building effect, right? Because now I gotta work within the confines of Chris throwing in these. He mentioned a penguin. Now we got to work with a penguin too, right? And like those jokes come back like an hour later.
So I think it's different in each show. So I think in Stuff Said, when we do the group shows, I think that is Chris possibly intentionally just throwing little grenades into the thing. Because I think Chris, Jacob, and Smitty get a kick out of me trying to maintain some semblance of order. With cruising together, I think it's a pretty even split on which one of us is trying to muck up the other guy, and it's not.
I was gonna say it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, I think with cruising we have different MOs.
Yeah, I like to lean more towards like let's like have some semblance of order here and like stick to something. And Greg likes to take things as far off kilter as possible.
Yeah, in Cruisin', Chris likes to talk about the movie because he thinks that that's what people want to hear. That's why they're tuning in.
That is the feedback that I have heard from all
Right.
8 of our listeners.
And I like to take every digression as far as it will go without worrying so much about talking about the movie because that is the feedback I have received from all 8 of our listeners.
No,
So
I
I think
like
we're up.
that. I like that too. But if I have judged Greg's digressions as ceasing to be funny, I'll try and bring it back to the movie and start
Mm.
over and try,
And I
to
think
find something else funny.
sure, and I'll grant that. I just remember there was one episode for the movie All the Right Moves where Chris and I did not have a guest, and we successfully talked for 30 minutes without mentioning more than the movie title once. And that was so much fun for me.
That was
to
a
do that.
good run.
Or when my cousin Mike guest hosted, and Chris was our guest, and we did as much as we could to avoid even introducing Chris for as long as possible. Like that to me is more fun than talking about the movies, and I think it flexes more entertaining muscles. So I will do that in sacrifice of movie talk, and Chris will go back to movie talk in sacrifice of my nonsense.
What I'm hearing there is that you guys are also keeping an eye out for trying to get bored before the audience gets bored, right? Like Chris was saying, how like you're paying attention to where like if the track is coming up empty, like the path you're on, you'll reset and start over with talking about
Sure,
the topic at hand.
that sounds right. That sounds fair.
Yeah, that's a
And
good way of putting it.
do you guys have any like sort of like internal barometer that you've noticed about how you detect when is it purely just like when you're having fun with it, or like or is there like a sort of like a warning light that goes off like, okay, this is about to not get fun anymore?
I
Huh.
think it's just we know each other well enough that it's just
Yeah.
instinctual.
Okay.
And I don't know, Greg. What do you think?
Yeah,
Do you have a system?
I would. Yeah, I would agree. I think if we are not entertaining each other, then there's a very good chance nobody will be entertained. And then each episode was different depending on who our guest was. So some guests were so on the ball and so ready to play that became fun. And then there were guests that were so tired of us so quickly that becomes fun. Because then it's almost like a challenge because like, okay, what can we do to this guest who clearly gets it but has no patience for it? And then there were the occasional guests that just didn't quite get it. And that was maybe the most frustrating, but you sort of you kind of mine for the
I
content where
disagree
you
that
can.
we've ever had a guest that didn't enjoy us.
No, well, I'm not saying they didn't enjoy us. I'm saying
Who didn't have patience for us?
there have been guests that very vocally are saying, "You guys have to stop this. It is driving me crazy."
That's right. Okay, I can
Yeah.
think of. Okay. Yep.
And that in and of itself becomes funny in its own way because I find it delightfully entertaining.
Well, I like to see that when that happens. I like to see. Well, I can only think of one person, but like see them laughing in spite of what they're saying.
Yeah, it's great.
Self-indulgence.
Yeah,
All right.
self-indulgence.
So, do you guys feel like you're ready to start doing some riffing and demoing?
I'm ready to do whatever you want me to do.
Wow, what
Yes, and
what a
Yes,
cooperative.
and I would like to start now.
Okay, so folks who are watching live, we're gonna take input from you if you want to start giving us some prompts, like ideas of window washer with a dream, right, or something like that, like some kind of like character who such and such, so that we can start building a premise out of, and watch Chris and Greg are gonna riff, and then I'm going to be the referee / observer who then
You're not gonna-
deconstructs.
wait, you're not going to riff with us a little bit?
I guess I can try.
Yeah.
I'm not as. I would say that I'm a middleweight compared to you guys when it comes to like the being funny on the fly. I can be thoughtful on the fly, but being
Hey,
funny on
look.
the fly is tougher.
What if somebody makes a suggestion and we go drama, baby?
Oh, okay. Drama and poetry
Yeah.
I can do.
Huh. Yeah.
All right.
See, poetry, I'm out. But go ahead. Yeah. Unless it rhymes.
I'll start dropping rhymes.
Yeah, if it rhymes, if we're doing like Shel Silverstein style, I'm back in. Do
All right,
your
so what
Knicks business, Chris. Or Jersey.
What?
Jersey has other business to do.
Okay. So is this the end of the podcast?
No, Jersey's going to do another break,
Oh,
and then we're going to do some riffing.
okay. I thought he was hanging up on us for a second.
Never.
Where is Jersey? Did we lose him?
I don't know. I don't
I
think
just
so.
I see a picture of Boulder and Fleet, and I don't hear his voice. Jersey.
No, we're still live.
Uh-oh.
He might be playing something. We should probably stop talking.
Should we talk about one drum?
Hold on, I'm actually gonna watch what the feed is doing. Oh, it's on us.
It's on us.
Yeah, we lost Jersey, so it's just me and
Jersey.
you. We've now taken over the podcast.
So for anyone who's actually listening and wondering what's going on, like we don't know, but the irony here is that Greg and I had incredible technical difficulties at the beginning of this thing, just phoning into this.
Yeah,
Jersey's the one with all of the studio.
Jersey's back. Jersey's
right?
back.
He's back.
Yeah. Somebody commenting on the Lean Into on the Google Plus page, Shadow Wingtronics says this happens now and again, and then Jersey will be back. Thank you, Shadow Wingtronics.
Jersey is back.
Jersey's back. Jersey, wait till you go back and listen to this section of the show. It'll be a delight for you. It is a little bit of confusion and just it's quite fun.
Oh.
The kids are gonna love it.
Wait, what does fun mean?
Define
Oh, there was a
fun.
whole SpongeBob episode where they did a thing on the word fun. I can't remember. It was years ago. It's like 15 years ago.
All right, Jersey, I would say you don't need to go back and listen to. You missed nothing worth listening to. That's just my opinion.
Anyway, Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, you want to do another break before we do the riffing, correct?
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah,
You're
I just
very welcome.
you guys, you know. Oh,
Squarespace, everybody. Everyone needs a website. But how are you going to do it? You don't know coding?
No, I bet
Squarespace.com.
you. Hold on, Chris. First of all, they didn't pay for that. I bet you Jersey is about to thank some Patreon supporters.
Oh my gosh, you're so good at this, Greg. Yes. So I'm gonna thank some of our Patreon supporters who help make this show sustainable, and I'm pulling up their names right now. Yes, Brandon Dayton.
That guy draws so good.
Yes, that guy draws very good, and you can follow him on Twitter at Brandon Dayton. Angela Mitchell at Angie Makes Stuff on Twitter. Thank you, Angela, for helping to make this show sustainable. Cameron Callahan at Cam Callahan. He's got a new Scrambled Circuits book coming out in a few weeks. Follow him at Cam Callahan on Twitter to find out more about it. Nathan Seabolt, our friend from overseas, I couldn't find your Twitter account, Nathan, but on Facebook as Nathan.Seabolt. And, of course, Ashley Knapp, Control-Alt-Lee, friend of the show, has been on the show before. Thanks to all of you guys for helping to make this show sustainable. And if you want to check to help make the show, possible, you can do it for like $1 a month. Go to patreon.com/leanintoart. We do extra Lean Into Art shows called Extra Lean, and they're in between these episodes. So if you can't wait another 2 weeks for the next episode, there's another one there. It's over on our Patreon page, and actually we make it public. You don't have to support us, but it's a nice thing to do. So thanks to everybody who has supported us over on Patreon. All right. I knew that the show was in good hands when my internet went out. My internet goes out every once in a while when we're doing the show, and I drop out for like a full minute. I'm like, and normally I panic. I'm like, I gotta get everything back up. But I was like, they're gonna riff. They're gonna have fun.
Yeah,
so.
you knew that we would have no trouble with technology that is involved. Even though you were compromised, you knew that we knew exactly what we're doing with this Google Chat stuff.
Steady hands like a surgeon.
Yes.
All right, so let's. I would have to turn on the transition music to go on the ground. Get ourselves psyched up. And make some things together.
Is that Enya?
Oh, I know that music too. You're pushing all my buttons, man.
I try to get you psyched. Try to get you pumped
Oh
up.
my
for this thing.
goodness.
What is that music?
That's music from the Great British Baking Show, or in England as it's called, the Great British Bake Off. It's a freaking delight. I love it so much. And thankfully people from England have posted all the pre-PBS seasons on YouTube, so I've been watching those. It's great.
So
They call cake sponge.
I bet they do.
What's the dude with the frosty hair?
Paul Hollywood.
Paul Hollywood.
Yeah, they refer to him, and I apologize for this, Jersey, but they refer to him as a master baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing to apologize for. That makes perfect sense.
Okay. I know, sensitive ears.
Double
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
When are we gonna get a TV show like this for cartooning? That's what I want to know. Like a show that's like really sincere, like that, where.
Well, in the United States, you're probably not going to get anything that sincere.
You know,
When you start getting fans of cartooning.
Also that. But I think American TV. I think that's why this show has taken America by storm. There's nothing like it on American TV. Nothing that sincere and pleasant and delightful, charming.
It is charming.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well,
Hey, when a cartooning show does take off, it's going to be your show, Jersey.
That's
I don't know
true.
about that.
If anybody's going to helm it, it's Jersey Drozd.
I don't know about that. I could do the hosting part. I could do that part at least. I could.
Be a producer.
Yeah, the lady
Come up with the challenges.
You could be like Dr. Dre. You could be the producer and the artist.
Yeah, like Dr. Dre.
Beats by Dre.
Right, not the co-host of Yo MTV Raps, the other Dr. Dre.
Yeah,
right.
the one who made the beats.
Right.
So, you guys, can we talk about the different strokes thing we were talking about the other day?
Sure.
Well, while you were offline, I asked Greg. I was like, "Should we start talking about that?"
So did you already
I didn't
talk
know what
about
else.
it? Do I need to be
No, we didn't.
No, because we thought you were maybe playing a commercial, so I said we should be quiet, and then I actually just went on to the website and started the video up, and I'm like, oh, it's just me and Chris right now. The lunatics have taken over the asylum, and then you came back shortly thereafter.
So
the thing you want us to talk about is Chris and I will often be on the phone rambling about stuff, and when they announced the Star Wars Rogue One movie, I came up with the phrase counter sequel, which is another movie in a series that is just telling a separate story. So it's not even really a prequel, it's just like an additional story to fill in gaps.
Mhm.
So Chris and I often will find
It's like Rogue One is like the prequel you didn't know you had any interest in seeing.
yeah, like
But
it's a
now
prequel about
it's the most anticipated movie of all time.
yeah, it's a prequel about none of the main characters in any of the movies we've seen so far.
But Darth Vader's going to be in it.
Allegedly.
Apparently, maybe we might see him.
Allegedly. So this idea of finding these stories where nobody wants or needs that story has been a running gag with Chris and I that we will riff on.
Okay.
And then recently, I don't even know what brought it up, but the idea came up of there should be a TV show. I think Chris brought it up, right, Chris?
Yeah. This
so-
is my gem.
Yeah, Chris came up with the idea of there should be a TV show about a young
the
Mr.
prequel.
Drummond.
Yeah, the prequel to Different Strokes, because in the theme song, we
Well,
find
before
out
we
know
Yeah, go ahead.
we know that a man is born. He's a man of means, and then along come two, and there's a huge
Right.
gap between the man is born and he's a man of means, or is he even born a baby? He's born a man.
Right. Yeah, like at some
So
point he
there's-
obviously had a daughter. We don't know how that even happened. I don't even remember if they ever established what happened to Kimberly's mom on that show.
So I think it's like kind of like it's going to be part How I Met Your Mother, part the Adventures of Scrooge McDuck, right? Because you got to figure
Sure,
out how
he's
Mr.
rich.
Drummond how he made his fortune.
Yeah, man of means.
How he met, what's her name? Daphne? What's the daughter's name?
Daughter's name is Kimberly.
Kimberly. So Kimberly's like how he met Kimberly's mom.
Right. Or maybe he adopted Kimberly. Maybe his whole thing is adoption.
It's true.
We don't know.
So like then we were trying to come up with what's the title of it going to be? Is it going to be, what's his name? What's his first name? Philip?
Yeah,
Is it
Philip
going to be called
Drummond.
Philip Drummond? And then I thought to the theme song, and I thought about Rogue One, and I thought the perfect title for the show is One Drum.
Right, because the world don't move to the beat of just one drum.
Of just one drum. But in this show, yes, it does.
And when Chris said that, it was perfect. Laughs were had, and we won that game. Like, the game is won. We crossed the finish line.
Okay, so
No,
you
yeah.
just modeled the activity we're going to do, which is a modeling activity itself, right? And what I want to do is I want to make sure that the audience knows, the folks who are watching live, you know, if you got any prompts that you want to throw at the guys, or all of us, you can do it in the chat in the Google Hangout. And if you're watching this after the fact, oh, that's too bad. You should tune in live when we do these things. I've got a prompt to get us started. Okay, and I've got like some like vague prompts, and I got some like more really specific ones. But okay, and then so this is like more of like general storytelling stuff, like less like it's like we could deconstruct the whole one drum thing that you guys just did, but
I find it hard to believe. Like, this just seems like normal conversation to me, though. Like I don't see this as being anything special.
Well, I think, Chris, it becomes special when, for instance, I mean, I had this thought earlier today. I'm going to derail you a little bit, Jersey. I had this thought today, which was, so DC Comics is doing a bunch of modern takes on Hanna-Barbera stuff, and I came up with an idea for a take on the Jetsons for this new Hanna-Barbera thing.
okay.
So now this would come into practice. If I was genuinely thinking, like, I need to pitch this thing, I might call Chris up and say, I have this idea, and then just start riffing back and forth to see if there's any there. So I'll do it with you guys now because I'm really not going to pitch this thing. So
Okay.
I'll throw it out to the world.
All right.
But the idea was to play the Jetsons, which takes place in the future, as a nostalgic thing like the Wonder Years. So you're taking the whole thing from Elroy's point of view, and he's wistful of his past, which is the future. So he's like super in the future, and he's about when he was a kid in the future. I thought that was a funny idea.
So it's like double future.
Yeah. So it's like a guy in the year 3000 remembering the year 2070.
Right.
I thought that was a funny concept
Yeah, that's good.
because it's like double sci-fi stacked on top of itself. Like, oh, these food pills we used to eat, they were crazy. Nowadays, it's like it's so full of make-em-ups. It sounded like a fun idea.
Now, so would George still be alive? George and
I
Judy?
don't know. You can have him like alluding.
Judy's the daughter, so she'd probably
Judy's
still
the
be around.
sister.
But
It's Jane.
but-
Jane is the one who has to get him off that crazy thing.
right, and daughter Judy, daughter of George, not daughter of Elroy.
Right, Jane, his wife.
But you also figure in the future probably their lifespans are extended. So
I mean, that could be a thing. It could be like a story of like, when my father had his first space heart attack, it was real scary.
space heart attack. They still live on Earth.
Doesn't matter. What would you call it? Yeah, but the guy's name was Mr. Spacey. Like, there was definitely were they on Earth? Was that ever clearly established?
It's at the beginning of every episode. It's like it's outer space, and then they zoom in on the planet Earth.
Right.
That's right.
That's
It's true.
they're just in like buildings impossibly high off the ground, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, but suspended by one pole. It's
Right.
it's like a single pole, and it goes 500 feet up in the air, and then you have like a Cloud City looking thing.
Right, like the Space Needle in Seattle.
Right.
Yeah, yes, that's like every home. But why did they have to be up so high?
I don't know. This is what we could explore. Could be that like Elroy
Morlocks.
took it on him to figure this out.
So maybe
Who knows?
maybe we got to do the prequel that figures out like the designers of this modern way of living.
That's also
In the-
another. Yeah.
In the future, maybe Elroy's like back in the ground. And he's talking about how it all went wrong.
Also possible. So there you go, Jersey. There's a little example of how that might work.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay. We actually got in the time for you guys to work that through. We got some prompts in the chat.
Sweet.
Yeah, Ashley Knapp is in the chat, and she's asking, did they ever show the surface of the Earth in the Jetsons? I don't think they did. I don't think they
Yes.
did. They did?
Yes, they did. Yes.
Oh.
There was definitely.
Is that where Eep, Op, Ork, Ah were from? They weren't people. That was just a song.
I don't know if that's where they were from. Are you guys from the ground? I remember there was somebody like picking up garbage on the ground. That's just the image I have in my. I know that there was. I can't tell you like a story that specifically took place, but there was definitely a scene with on the grass on the ground.
It wasn't AstroTurf. Nailed it.
Oh.
Maybe it was.
AstroTurf is where Astro turfs, if you get my mention.
Heyo.
All right.
It's gold.
So let's whose line is this anyway thing right now. So Troy, Shadowing Tronics, who earlier mentioned that he interviewed Chris at a show a while back and said that you're a nice guy.
All right, thanks. I fooled him.
He is a nice guy. Troy doesn't lie. He throws into the chat, girl tries to help her sister learn her new superpowers despite not having any.
Oh, Supergirl. That's a TV show already.
Oh, actually, that is
Yeah,
kind of...
but no, but the sister isn't helping her learn how to use her powers.
Okay, I guess I haven't watched every episode.
What do you do with that premise?
Well, so do we want to? I'm looking at the chat as well, Jersey. Do we want to read the other questions that he throws in there?
Yeah, I didn't know if that would be... Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Well, just it'll give us places to go. So the questions are: Is the sister jealous? Is she overprotective? Is she fangirling out? Is she coming up with her own way to become a superhero? Parentheses, idea just came to me. Well, that's how ideas happen, clearly. They just come to you. So I guess the first question I would ask is, well, there's two questions. One, figuring out what these superpowers are, and two, what is the relationship with these two sisters?
Okay.
So, and then are we going for jokey, or are we going for legit? Are we going for serious?
I don't know yet.
My first thought is like is maybe like she's like is supposed to be training her, but she doesn't know anything about superpowers, and it's all just about like use your superpowers to take me to the mall and go shopping, or it's all very self-serving on the sister's part.
Yeah. Yeah. What would motivate the sister? Let's give these sisters some names. We'll call the one with powers Sister Powers, and we'll call the one without powers Sister Normal.
All right.
So, what would motivate Sister Normal to even bother to train Sister Powers? Who's older, Normal or Powers?
Normal.
Normal is older.
If Normal is older, then it's funnier because she's in a position to be manipulating her and taking advantage of her. Because
So you'd rather you're saying that is a better angle than an older sister genuinely trying to sincerely help her younger sister learn how to use her powers.
I don't know that it's necessarily better, and this might be an example of you don't think twice or just be in the moment sort of thing.
Ashley Knapp has made a very good suggestion that the sister with powers should be Paula, and the normal sister should be Norma.
Oh, great! That is really good. Leave it to Ashley.
So I say we stick with Paula and Norma.
Okay.
All right. So you're saying okay? So Norma is older. Paula has powers. Is it possible that Paula has powers because of something Norma did, and she secretly feels a little guilty?
That is a possibility. If that makes it entertaining, then we explore further. See how it works? What's the next idea?
Professor Girusa just walked out of the room, everybody.
But when
No, you do it.
but now here's what's interesting, though. If we take that angle, then you do get a Reed Richards, Ben Grimm thing going, where the person feels a certain amount of guilt for the person with the powers.
Well,
although instead of trying to...
only if they're shitty Oh!
Language! Well, that's the thing, so...
Only if
whether
it's
the powers
bad,
are good or bad.
powers, if it's like a terrible thing. I think the assumption we may have all made initially was superpowers are awesome.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, right? Reed Richards was trying to cure Ben Grimm. Norma is trying to train Paula. So it's not it's a maybe guilt is the wrong word, but a sense of responsibility.
Responsibility.
Yeah, maybe it's like I got to make sure, like I'm still, even though I don't have the superpowers, I'm still responsible for my little sister. I got to make sure that she uses her powers properly and doesn't hurt herself or anybody while being awesome.
Especially since I'm the one that gave her these powers. It's my actions caused my little sister, who's all of 4 years old, to be superpowered. She can't even read. Or, what if she's a 4-year-old and she gets the power to read?
That would be super.
Reading is a superpower, kids.
Ashley's saying, I guess we have to figure out if Paula can still go to normal school or if she's like been hulked out all the time now.
Well, that depends on the powers, right? So if Paula's power, she's a 4-year-old that learns how to read, she can go to school and she's going to excel significantly.
Good Duke
Hey,
Bowser it.
There are 4-year-olds who know how to read.
All right, then she's 2 and she learns how to read. Or what if she learns how to do long division?
Like, can we just agree that reading, as much as we would like to motivate the children to read, that reading's not a superpower?
Fine.
Because we can all do it.
So yeah, is it a power that creates a physical change in Paula, or is it a power that can be disguised with a pair of glasses or a mustache?
The picture that popped into my head was her arms start on fire, right? Like something that
just her arms.
Potentially dangerous, but from a kid's standpoint would be pretty darn cool.
Well, it starts at the arms, but then it spreads quickly.
No.
Greg, don't you know anything about fire?
No, Jersey is saying just firearms.
Firearms.
That's a pretty good name.
Well, firearms has been in the news quite a bit lately.
People want to ban them.
So what we're saying then is that Norma wants some sort of firearms control.
Yeah, Norma is trying. Well, no, she just wants responsible firearms.
Right.
She wants her to use
responsible firearms.
Yeah, she wants to use her firearms responsibly. Yeah, because having those firearms in the house, there's a good chance somebody's going to get hurt.
You're more likely to, that's for sure.
So does she lock up Paula in a box?
Or maybe she just makes some asbestos sleeves.
No, she locks up. Does she lock up Paula in a box until like there's somebody trying to break in, and then she lets her out of the box?
Well, I think that betrays the training part. The central conceit is that Paula or Norma is training Paula in the use of these firearms.
Right.
So
does Paula know that Norma is responsible?
That's a good question. Well, how old is Paula and her firearms?
Well, you said before that you said she was 4.
Yeah, but I said that as a joke. We don't have to commit to that.
I'm going to say, let's see, Paula is in 6th grade.
All right, so she's 11.
She's 11.
11 going on 12.
And Norma is in 8th grade. Like 2-year difference? 2 or 3 year difference. But they're still both kind of young. But the old one is eager. Norma's eager to grow up. Start dating boys.
Now,
Or girls.
or girls, that's right, Chris. Or neither.
Yeah.
Jersey, I don't like you brainwashing the audience into with your agenda.
Ashley Knapp makes a funny comment. Firearms
Hashtag
Paula.
sarcasm. Hashtag sarcasm, folks.
Ashley Knapp makes a funny comment that if she's wearing oversized asbestos gloves, does this take place in the 50s?
I think it does now.
Which
Another
is funny.
prequel.
Well, what else? What other materials are, apologize for the word, fire retardant?
And if we can figure out what those materials are we? Is it our duty to inform firefighters?
Whoa! Firefighter, that's a different power entirely.
All right, so we're gonna explore this other. No, I don't know. I say if we can come up with a material that is fireproof, we should probably let the firemen know about it.
And
But that's why I didn't say fireproof. I said fire retardant. That is like protective against fire. Like those blankets that they cover people that are on fire with. A fire blanket, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I think it,
Or
I can look
Batman's
it up.
cape.
I thought a fire blanket was when you want to set someone on fire. You throw it on them.
What is Batman's cape made out of? Because that seems to be pretty good in a fire.
well, that was where I was going to ask you guys. Like, are we now entering the realm of it's unstable molecules, and that changes?
I mean, we could. That seems like an easy shortcut to getting to where we need to be. To that end, we could say that Norma is a super genius and figures it all out very quickly, and then where's the fun in that?
Maybe
Right.
it's one of her crazy experiments that goes wrong.
Yeah, to cause the
You already said that
firearm.
before. You already said that before, right?
I did. Well, I didn't say it was an experiment, but I said maybe
Yeah.
Norma is the cause of Paula's power.
I'm the one that came up with the idea of there being an experiment.
All right. So we've come up with her name is Firearms, which is a good name.
He's 11 years
She's
old.
11 years old. The older sister feels responsible. There's fodder in the fact that they're not at the same school because one of them is in.
Middle school.
Wait. Well, but if one is in 6th grade and one is in 8th grade, they are in the same school. So should we make one of them in 5th grade and one of them in 8th grade so they're in separate schools?
Not if they're in the school district I grew up in.
Those don't exist anymore.
At this point,
Yeah, another question.
Yeah.
Why did the... Yes.
The city, the location. Is this rural? Is this in a dense metropolis? Is this mid-sized midwestern city? Is this Los Angeles? Is this New Mexico? Where are we talking?
I imagine the suburbs, but that is, I think, my default. As somebody that grew up, who was in the suburbs when he was 11,
Okay.
that might be, what's the word we were using before?
Oh, self-indulgent?
That might be self-indulgent.
Well,
I don't know.
but it's also a lot of write what you know.
Sure.
Isn't that
what-
like if I try to write something about a kid who grew up in New Mexico, it's probably going to be obvious I don't know anything about growing up in New Mexico.
I mean, do we want to play to the satire of this thing and put this in a place where firearms is an actual debate?
I don't know. I mean, I can't help thinking
Like
we've
a
already
place like
offended
Texas?
plenty of people.
Like a place like Texas where open carry is a thing and people are fighting about firearms? And then then you get a story that is entertaining in its own right, and then you get like that next level. Talking about the next
parable.
level, guys. Over here. We're here. I'm talking about going up here. But like, maybe not
We
up here.
wanna
It's
be there.
underneath. It's subtext. So it's here. This is the story up here, and the subtext is down here. Maybe?
Troy and Ashley are throwing into the chat like they're really kind of sticking to that 50s thing, and they're pointing out that giant radioactive monsters are a 50s bit trope.
That is true.
As is nuclear bomb testing.
Well, Chris, you and I years ago pitched
Set
the
off a
thing
nuclear
over.
bomb?
No,
I thought we weren't going to talk about that.
We pitched a thing over to DC Comics that never went anywhere, involving the Green Lanterns, that involved a science fair going awry and everybody getting powers and such. So we could just bring that into this concept. Norma's doing... Jersey has left this call, so we're just going to keep talking.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. All right. The little thing went biddy boom, said you left.
Biddy
So-
boom.
It's the 1950s. Norma is in the science fair. Paula is there to help. Something goes bananas, and then the school is affected, so that like the hamster in the classroom becomes something, and the pet newt, and all of these things. Maybe it's like the day before the science fair, and Paula has snuck into there. Norma has snuck into the school and brought Paula with her because she had to be babysitting. Is this something?
I think that's
Sure.
something.
It's all good.
So that's why like there's nobody in the school getting affected except for the stuff in the school and Paula. So you don't have like a, and then maybe there's a janitor with powers too, because there's always a janitor somewhere after hours in the 50s. That's a trope, ain't it?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, you can have like a superpowered hamster, and you can have what are the other pets in a school? Hamsters, newts.
I feel like I'm proving I'm not very good at this right now.
Ashley's saying this is a solid backstory. You guys want to know what was in my school as pets? We had
Of course I do.
We had an iguana and we had a piranha. And the piranha was our third grade teacher would, if he caught you with a toy in class, he would put it in the piranha tank.
Hold on.
Wow.
Hold on.
What?
You had in your school an iguana and a piranha.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm now trashing the entirety of Paula and Norma, and I think the real meat of this thing is iguana and piranha, wanna, ...
All right.
It's a series about a piranha and iguana, and they want to do things.
They want to do things.
Yeah, piranha and iguana want a blank. And each book tells one of their new adventures. Iguana and piranha want to sell ice cream.
Wanna fly.
Yeah, iguana and piranha want to fly.
You
Iguana
know-
and piranha want to meet Donna.
It has been 30 years, and I have never thought to say iguana piranha like that. Not
It's
once.
ridiculous. You've been sitting on this thing for 30 years, Jersey. You have a kids' book series. It's yours. It's in the palm of your hands. Iguana and piranha wanna. I don't even know.
Iguana and piranha listen to Madonna.
Iguana and piranha wanna listen to Madonna.
If
Wait, what?
Iguana piranha wanna, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's iguana and piranha wanna.
Wanna listen to Madonna.
Yeah, or wanna go see Madonna or whatever. Either way, I'm just saying.
So it can
Iguana and piranha meet Lola Falana. I don't even know who Lola Falana is, but it rhymes.
A year you said we were going to do poetry. Oh.
Say that again, Jersey. You cut out.
I said in here you said we weren't going to do poetry.
That's
That's
the
right, you said-
beauty of
you said
going where the
that.
stories take you. Honestly, Jersey, I really do think iguana and piranha wanna is something.
All right, I'm writing this down. Iguana.
Like, does Google own this because we're doing it in a Hangout, or does this
No.
you get to keep it? Okay.
But
I think
yeah,
that's-
this is our documentation.
Yeah.
That Greg caught it.
This is the birth of something.
What I
So
think
now-
is do you think that like that would have gone well? First of all, I think the thing that to highlight there is that you just kept going and going until something went, whoa, wait, right?
Yeah. I mean, it meant we scrapped literally the past 20 minutes worth of rambling.
Right.
But I remember in college this being a thing. So I was an advertising major, and we would sit and brainstorm ideas. And I would go way far afield, much to the annoyance of my partners in the group. They became very frustrated with my throwing out really ridiculous ideas, and I would tell them, like, you got to let me do this, because by doing this, I'm going to find the thing that actually works.
Yeah, you
gotta let
finally stumble upon it's all part of the journey.
Yeah. So I think without, there's, by going through the conversation, you find little things, and this is the difference, Jersey, that I was alluding to before, in terms of trying to find your story where you already know where you're going and trying to find something.
Yep.
So in this instance, we were given a prompt, and we could have stuck to it. Like, I could have ignored the iguana and piranha thing, but because I know that the end result is a conversation, apologies to our great suggestion, said, all right, that goes to the side now because there are 2 words that rhyme, and I'm going to add a 3rd rhyming word. And from there, you could sit there and be like, all right, what are the personalities of iguana and piranha, and what are the other things they can want to do?
Right.
And are they in a city? Are they in the suburbs? Are they in a lab? Are they, are they, what's the word I'm looking for, where, like Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood, anthropomorphized?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because how would you play the piranha, right? Because a piranha is just like a really angry fish.
Why is it angry? Maybe it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost, but it's a piranha. He's the friendly piranha.
Sure.
Because before Casper
also
came
viable.
along, we only knew ghosts to be extremely unfriendly.
I'm working on a book right now where there's a character who's like super, super intense, but it's just because he's passionate and he just doesn't realize when he's getting out of hand, where he just like gets so big in your face. So I'm thinking like what would be funny to me is a piranha who is just so zealous about eating that he just doesn't realize he's doing that, right? Like when it's the feeding frenzy,
Yeah. Yeah, you're tapping into the inherentness of a piranha,
Yeah.
making that a character trait.
Yeah.
An iguana just sort of goes with it, man, right? Or that chameleon is when it changes color. What does an iguana do?
They're big and they're dry and they whip you with their tail.
But they're sort of just chilled out, right? Like anytime I've ever thought of one, they're just like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm in the desert. It's cool.
Yeah, they hang out in college dorm rooms of guys that smoke lots of weed.
But isn't it ironic that the piranha's the one with the munchies?
Yes. Well, maybe that's why the iguana hangs out with the piranha, because he knows, like, oh, this guy knows where there's some good food. Because he doesn't want, he's kind of lazy and doesn't have, like, he's not really motivated. So he's like, hey, piranha, what do you got? I came here for some snacks. What do you got?
This becomes the subtext to, like, when people are watching the Smurfs and they're like, oh, it's all about communism. Like, that wasn't probably not the intent of Peyo.
I never heard that theory.
Smurfs. You haven't?
No.
That they all work in the collective, and that Papa Smurf has a red hat, and red is the representation of communism?
No.
It's all in the movie Slackers.
I thought it was all about the KKK. Papa Smurf has a red hat. So does the Grand Wizard. All the rest of them have the white hats.
But what's their prejudice? Who are they prejudiced against?
I don't think that needs to be spelled out, but you're saying within the context of the cartoon?
Yeah.
Maybe it's post ethnic cleansing. There's just one human left, and they're like, all right, that's the guy we got to get rid of. Gargamel's the hero the whole time.
But they're not trying to get rid of. Hold on. Your premise is flawed. They're not trying to get rid of Gargamel. Gargamel's trying to capture them.
Yeah, after what they did to his people.
I don't buy your ridiculous premise.
There's a prequel here to explore, is what I'm suggesting.
Oh, you're obsessed with prequels.
But there's other humans. John and Pee-wee are there. Big Mouth is there.
Yeah, Johan and Pee-wee. You call him John? Isn't it Johan?
Oh, is it Johan?
Yeah, man, Johan.
You guys don't even know their names.
I do. It's Johan.
Humans.
Oh, Ashley's saying this is definitely like the morning Drawfee show. Have you guys checked that out? I have not seen that.
No, what is that?
I'm guessing it's another podcast. Where
Another podcast? Impossible.
What?
As far as I know, there are only 3, maybe 4 podcasts.
So
We host
Now,
I think
now that everybody's got a... I wasn't going to say anything funny. Go ahead.
I think we demoed the idea of like nobody was being precious about anything where anybody was like fighting for some kind of sacred cow in this thing. And it was like just exploring the ideas and riffing back and forth and bouncing things around and letting our brains go where they wanted to go on that stuff.
Well,
I think
part two of this is tomorrow. This conversation will just pop up in my head out of nowhere, and then I'll think of an idea related to something that we said that we're not thinking of right now. Or when you're in the shower, you'll just start thinking of ideas.
though I have a question for Jersey. Jersey, when you said that her arms would catch fire,
Yeah.
did you have any sense of the actual phrase firearms
No.
and what that might birth?
No.
Okay.
No. None
Because that
whatsoever.
clearly like got us going.
Yeah. No, that was just me thinking like what would a 10-year-old think is really cool, right? Like and a 10-year-old would and I work with kids all the time, so I get this firsthand. Like they say weird stuff like, "Oh, the top of his head can fire cannonballs and his elbows have guns in them," you know? And I'll be like, "Why?" And they're like, "'Cause it's cool, you know?
Sure. Yeah, do the firearms shoot fireballs? Oh, we're going off again. Sorry.
So yeah, but I think we did what I had hoped we would do, which is like we generated a couple different story ideas like out of nothing, out of just like asking somebody throw something at me, and then walked around and created some stuff.
Yeah, we
And
brainstormed.
We brainstormed. So okay, well I want to respect your guys' time, and we got to wrap up the show in a second here. So but I do want to say to everybody
I barely got warmed up.
well, tune into our after hours show, which is 4.5 hours long of us just talking like lunatics. And actually, no, that is what happened. But like when we were talking just the other day, it's like you called me for like a Clip Studio Paint question, and then I wanted to spend like an hour on the phone with you guys talking about anything.
Yeah, we're bad that way. It's dangerous.
It was fun. I was just thinking while you guys were talking. It was great. Okay, so I do want to say to everybody who's listening, if you guys are new to Chris and Greg, then what you should do right now is go to chrisgcomics.com, check out G-Man. You will not regret it. Also check out minimarvelart.com and maybe purchase one of the sketches there. You can also subscribe to Cruising Together with a lot of this kind of riffing by these two guys. Also go buy Picks One Weirdest Weekend and sign up for Greg's email list so you can find out when the next book comes out. It's coming out any day now. No, not any day now.
Come on, that's might be extreme.
Okay.
Any day in 2017.
Any day in 2017.
I have 177 pages to ink. This is a process. But I'm working on the cover, and hopefully I will announce that sooner than later.
Super cool. So sign up for his email list to find out about that. And then also check out a whole mess of Stuff Said shows where Greg asks really, really thoughtful, insightful questions. Both I and Chris have been on that show.
True. That's where we first met, Jersey.
That is.
We first met and recorded podcasts.
You guys did like a dual recording, right?
Yeah, but that was really the first time I met him. We spoke for 5 minutes and then just started recording.
Yeah.
But we
bananas.
were both doing research on each other before that. Like I remember I listened to like the entire archive of stuff said up to that point and was reading stuff online, and you were doing the same with me. So
Sure.
So but yeah.
Thank you, Ashley Knapp. I'm thanking Ashley Knapp for her comment on the whatever you call the comment thread.
the chat thing. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, she does. Yeah, she likes that. Well, Ashley has good taste. So okay, and then the other thing I want to point people at is if you enjoyed this discussion and you know maybe you don't want to support us on Patreon, maybe you don't want to buy any of our products, but you want to thank us somehow. A great way to do that is to go to iTunes, give us a star review, however many stars you think we deserve, or if you're watching this video on YouTube, you can give the video a thumbs up. That helps more people find the show, helps raise awareness about this thing, so that more people can subscribe to it, and then maybe they can financially support the show. So every little bit helps, and thanks to everybody who has written reviews and given the videos, the thumbs up button. So, okay, I think we walked around it, guys. Anything else? Any other things that you guys wanted to talk about, promote, or make noise about before we close it out?
Oh, let me think.
One
me on
drum,
Twitter?
folks.
Follow me on Twitter. It's @ and my name, GREGGSCHIGIAL.
We will link to that.
I
in the
post
show notes
things
as
from
well.
time to time. Yeah,
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram.
I'm only on Twitter.
All right.
I guess that's, yeah. I think
Social
that'll do it
media.
for me.
People
Yeah,
tell me I
social
got to
media.
work this social media.
All right, guys. Well, I will link to all of your social medias. In
Thank
the
you,
show
Jersey.
notes. Thank you
you.
guys so much for this. So until next time, everybody, I have been Jersey Drozd of leanintoart.com and Jersey on Twitter. Oops, let me get my title card up. And then I say, okay, bye.
Show notes for this episode can be found at leanintoart.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at the user leanintoart, and you can reach us via email at leanintoart@gmail.com. And remember, leaners aren't wieners. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'm going to kill the stream, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.